guys, welcome to episode 29 of The Doctor and the Dork. This is Frank here with our co-hostess Olivia.
Hello everybody.
So this week we're probably going to make this a quick one, but it is post-Christmas. New Year's is on the way, and honestly it feels like a weird week. I'm not used to Christmas and New Year's being in separate weeks. I don't know, I feel like last year it was all part of the same week for me.
Gotcha.
Like, Christmas was on, like, a Wednesday or Thursday, and New Year's was, like, Tuesday.
I don't know how to tell you this, but they're always the same number of days away.
I know. They just, I don't know, it felt closer last year.
Christmas is on a Friday, and guess what day New Year's is on?
Friday?
Yeah, always 1 week apart.
But, yeah. All right. So, guys, how was your Christmas this year? I would say ours was pretty good. Olivia, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we had a pretty nice Christmas.
Yeah? You get anything good?
Well, I haven't seen my family yet for my presents, but I got a nice coffee maker from Frankie, which was very nice.
And I got lots of Lord of the Rings stuff, so I can't be salty about that. It's always a good Christmas when you get Lord of the Rings stuff. But shout out to my aunt and uncle and my grandparents and my parents and Olivia's parents and who else has given us gifts?
I don't know.
Your grandmother. And I think that's it, right?
I think so.
And all of our friends. I believe that would be that we're exchanging gifts with. But all right, guys. And I got one other shout out. And that would be to my buddy Demon Hunter. I've been playing video games with this guy for years and years. And no matter how long we take breaks, we always come back and we end up playing again together.
Is that his name, Demon Hunter?
Well, it's his handle on the PlayStation.
Aren't you going to give him a real shout out?
I don't know his last name. I know his name's Frank.
Oh, really?
Just like mine, yeah.
Did you meet him on the internet?
I did. I met him online. I met him playing Destiny back in the day when PS4 first came out. Actually, I say PS4. No, my God. It was, God, was it? It was PS4. Yeah, it wasn't back on PS3, I don't believe.
For some reason, I thought I was one of your army pals.
Nope. I started playing with him while I was in the army. In fact, he showed me how to do the Crota raid for Destiny 1. It was their first, I think it was their first DLC they had. And he was this boss. He showed me how to do the sword for that boss raid. And that actually was awesome because not a lot of, well, I don't want to say not a lot of people knew how to do it, but not everyone knew how to do it. So it was cool to know how to do it the right way.
Gotcha.
All right. And so one of the things you got for Christmas was, oh, jeez. Tony
Hawk Pro Skater.
Over here. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, the remastered or
which I brought up on the last podcast, and I subtly suggested maybe Frankie should get it for me for Christmas.
I picked up that subtle hint, guys. So, yeah, how are you liking it?
I like it. I have some, complaints about it, though. Like, Spyro, they just remastered so well. They, kept everything old, and they just made everything look better, which I feel like is all anybody's looking for when they play a remastered video game. But Tony Hawk Pro Skater, they went and changed the soundtrack. They changed the way a couple of things look in the game. They added new challenges, and they just made, overall things a lot harder. Like, before on the game, you could pull off really cool stunts that, I don't disagree that you shouldn't probably have been able to pull off, but you could. So then when you go to attempt those same things now and you don't even come close, it's a little bit frustrating.
I feel you.
But it's still enjoyable, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I dread that when they... So I haven't picked up Final Fantasy VII yet, but I dread picking that up and finding out that they have changed things, being able to look back on it and go from there.
Yeah.
But I hope they haven't done anything too crazy like that. So, but moving on, guys. I was going to do some talking this week about RPGs, role-playing games, and specifically open-world role-playing games, because they have turned out to be just my bread and butter. I can't find a single one of them that I haven't absolutely loved. Though they do start to feel a bit cookie cutter after some time, because it's really get a quest, find something, grind, repeat, grind, repeat. And I was just going to talk about a couple of them. So we got The Witcher 3, which, let me just start off with this one. I never played The Witcher 3. I'd never played Witcher 1 or 2. And I have been loving The Witcher 3. I am off of work this week because I took vacation time, and I have been grinding out Witcher 3, and my God, you can't do it in a week, I tell you that much. You need several months. This is definitely like a 600-hour kind of game.
Yeah.
And I've been really grinding away at it, but I feel like I'm barely putting a dent in it. I'm still in Velen, which is like the beginning area. I've got most of the map discovered, but there's just so much going on that I'm like, I don't know it's hard to just pick and choose where to go, because it's like, okay, yeah, you could follow the main quest and grind that out and do the bare minimum and beat the game, but at a certain point it's like, well, I'd like to go enjoy all the nice little things they add in, because they add all these little quirks in. But then I hop over to games like Fallout, which I loved. Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4, all of which were fantastic games. Now, I never played Skyrim, which was another one that really was just fantastic, that you could really dump a lot of hours into. And, yeah, I don't know why I never got into it. But yeah, I kind of think I will in the future, because they remastered it already. So they brought it back with better graphics, and they've released,
for
all
the PS5 or what?
Well, they remastered it for the PS4.
Oh.
So it's actually supposed to be really good. So the last one I really wanted to kind of gloss over here was Monster Hunter World. And Monster Hunter World has been near and dear to me, because I got into Monster Hunter while I was playing on my Nintendo DS. And I loved that game. A couple of my buddies had it, and we all used to play together, because you had to be near each other to play together. So it's not like we were playing like online. It was like Bluetooth locally. We were all on bunk beds, right next to each other, and it was lots of fun.
Yeah.
We played the hell out of that game together. And those were some really good times. So when Monster Hunter World came out, because I think that was Monster Hunter 3. I could be wrong, though. I really don't remember. But Monster Hunter World came out, and it was really just everything I ever wanted, except not on a Nintendo DS and on a console. And my buddy Frank, and Demon Hunter, and I played the hell out of this game.
Yeah.
I mean, we sank crazy. Well, I sank crazy amount of time. I think he was in and out, because he got on that train a little late.
Yeah, the life, maybe.
Yeah, but he picked it back up again, because their DLC for it came out like a year and a half after the game released. So it was actually earlier this year or late last year that the DLC actually came out.
What does DLC stand for
downloadable
listeners?
content.
Okay.
So the DLC was basically a whole brand new game. Some DLCs are just a small add-on, right? You get it, and it adds an extra 6 hours of gameplay, and you get a couple of cool things. It adds end-game content to it.
See.
No, so Iceborne came out for Monster Hunter World, and they didn't just add like a couple hours of content. They added a whole new game.
Wow.
Like, they added several new worlds and things like that.
Why do you think they did that instead of just releasing a whole new game and charging you money for it?
Well, they did. So they released it. It's kind of funny. So you have to buy it so you have to buy your DLCs.
Oh.
So they make their money off of it, and they charged it like it was a real game. I mean, I think it's like $40, but it's so worth it.
Yeah.
And I went and picked that up, and eventually my buddy Demon will grab it. And I'll end up playing that, and I'll be able to actually talk about it. It's old news by now, but I look forward to it, because it's just so much fun.
He's
for
already
me.
been playing without you.
No, he's been playing offline, so he's still on the original game right now. So, but yeah, that was kind of my big thing with that. Now, moving into the big flop of this year, which was also another open world game, and that was Cyberpunk 2077. So Cyberpunk 2077, they really just so the game flopped. It was in and specifically, I want to say it flopped on PS4 and the Xbox. The new gen consoles, though, they've really been excelling. I was just watching a video tonight about the graphics comparison between PS4 and PS5, and it's just night and day.
Yeah.
You know, like the PS4 just can't load it.
I see.
It just can't handle it. But I found something interesting about this game because, you know, it was supposed to be this great game, and I'm sure in a year after they work all the bugs out, it will be the game they hyped it up to be. But in the meantime, CD Projekt Red is actually being sued right now by 2 different law firms by investors that you know, early on invested in the game, because they're alleging that, you know, CD Projekt Red wasn't very transparent with how the game was going to be on current generation consoles. So
it's their own fault. You're investing in somebody's unclear to you and you decide to invest in them anyways.
Well, the thing is, CD Projekt Red went, oh, hey, like, this'll work, and it didn't.
Did they, or were they just a little fuzzy about it, and now investors realize why they were a little fuzzy about it?
No, so the CEO was actually very clear when he said it would work just fine for older gen, but it would be preferred if it would operate on next gen consoles.
Wasn't entirely a lie. It is preferred.
Well, yeah, exactly. So it wasn't entirely a lie, but obviously,
Do you think they're gonna win?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't think the investors.
Look, this is the day and age where, you know, Red Bull can get sued because they don't give you wings.
Wasn't this game still a huge success regardless of all the refunds? Like, shouldn't investors probably be happy anyways?
Yeah, it really was by any other metric.
Yeah.
Other than happiness, I guess or ratings.
PR.
Yeah. So any other metric, they really did. They killed it in sales. So I guess they set out what they, you know, aimed to accomplish, but they really took a beating with PR, which for game studios is kind of a big thing because you build a reputation around, you know, that studio. Like, oh, hey, you know, they rolled out Witcher 3, or, you know, they rolled out Fallout, or one bad game will tank your reputation, and there's really no coming back from that. That's one of those, because what happens is the next time you go to come out, so say, yeah, you have one brand. We'll just go with Fallout, for example. So say, you know, Bethesda rolls out a bad Fallout game. So, yeah, players will go, oh, well, they had all these other good ones. So the next time a Fallout game comes out, people are probably still going to buy it. But Bethesda turns around and goes, oh, yeah, we're just rolling out this other game now, too. A lot of people are going to be really hesitant because they're just not going to be all about it. They're going to question whether the studio can handle it because it's something new, and if they're able to botch something that they know how to do, how are they going to handle something new?
That makes sense.
So, and the last thing I wanted to go over, still in the world of gaming, guys, is Google, their subsidy there, I believe it's DeepMind, or I'm probably botching the name, but needless to say, they're a subsidy of Google. They have an AI called Mu0. And Mu0 is interesting because they've built AIs in the past that could play chess. And they've built AIs that could play, you know, Pac-Man or, you know, Pong and stuff like that. These simple games. But playing chess and playing Pac-Man are 2 very different algorithms. So, like, chess is really you make a move, and then it's like reading a tree, right? So all the AI has to do is read every possible branch from that move from that point, and it's able to figure out where it wants to go. So it just looks very far in the future because it can't change. It's based on set rules that never change. Now, when you go look at something like Pac-Man, things are changing all the time. So you have different maps. The ghosts move faster, slower, they move in different directions, there's different numbers of them, and you have different amounts of power-ups and fruit and whatnot scattered around the map. So the AI has to make decisions based off of all of that. So what it really does is it's kind of a 3-part stage, which I was just reading up on, and this part is easy for me to understand, but what actually happens, it's a bit harder for me to get.
Yeah.
But so what it does is it makes a move, and then it has a second step, and it makes that first move based off of what it sees on the map. So it makes a move based off of what it sees, and then it also makes that move based off of what it knows has happened in the past.
Yeah.
So it kind of has a 3-step process there. And what's cool is this AI, apparently they implemented this adaptive learning into it, where it can swap between a rule-based game such as chess to kind of a more open game like Pac-Man, where it's anything can happen and who knows where it's going to go. So it's kind of a toss-up right there. But yeah, I'm kind of interested to see where this is going to go in the future because, as you guys know, I'm constantly interested by AI. It's really just something that I love to watch. I'm sort of half afraid of it and sort of in love with it because it's super cool, but at the same time, it's like, oh my god. I mean, hell, they just, who was it? Was it Boston Was it the Boston Robot Dynamics or whatever it is?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Really? You've never heard of Boston Dynamics? It's like Robot Dynamics. They make all the next gen robots. Well, they just released a Christmas video of one of the robots dancing. Like they're already there. Like they've already they're the guys that like you see videos of them poking the robots with like a stick and knocking it over or pushing a box around the room while it tries to pick it up. And that's those guys. I'm pretty sure it's Boston Dynamics or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll actually talk about them next week or the week after.
Okay.
But that's all I got this week. I'm gonna hand it over to Olivia.
All right, I just have a couple things to share with you guys. The first one, I'm not sure if Frankie saw, but did you see that the USDA updated their nutrition guidelines?
I did not.
So I'm not going to really focus on the actual guidelines, like what was in them. I'm going to actually focus on what was not in them. So there were a couple recommendations that academics and experts in the field had suggested to them that essentially they decided there wasn't enough evidence for and decided to leave out. But I think when you hear what those are, you'll find that a bit interesting. So the first thing that these people had recommended is that we change the daily amount of added sugar consumption to be from 10% of daily intake to 6%. So essentially reducing 4% of the added daily sugar in your thing. And they cited that obesity is becoming a rising issue in America, and so is diabetes, and that by reducing added sugar, hopefully we could combat those things. Furthermore, they said that toddlers and children less than 2 should have 0% added sugar in their diet.
Well, that makes sense.
It does, but then the USDA said, no, we're not going to put that in the guidelines.
Really?
Yeah, and the article then went on to say it's likely because of all the lobbying that goes on there, which we heard a little bit about in this book we listened to called Miss My Doctor Told Me. But I just thought it was interesting because in that book we listened to, the guy was basically like, we're living in this cycle where people go to school, they learn what these guidelines say, and they come out and they're essentially just regurgitating what's in the guidelines. So here I kind of saw for the first time we have actual, like, academics and doctors saying, no, we actually, like, need to change some of the things in here, and that, like, they're still not being changed.
And there's some pushback.
Yeah.
Okay. So Sugargate is currently happening.
It's in full force. The other recommendation they made that was not put into the guidelines was that currently the guidelines say men are allowed 2 drinks per day and women recommended 1 drink per day. They actually recommended that men also go down to 1 drink per day, and they cited that there's increased deaths with increased alcohol consumption, even in men, and they didn't change that one either. So overall, pretty interesting. You can go read the full USDA updated guidelines if you want, but in terms of your sugars, it stayed just about the same. The only other thing I really wanted to touch on today was a couple of the other Rona vaccines. As everybody knows, Pfizer and Moderna both have theirs emergency use authorized in the U.S., so I know people are probably wondering what other phase 3 vaccines are there out there, so I thought I'd list off a few in case anybody is looking to invest for the new year. The first one is Johnson & Johnson. I think everybody's pretty aware of them as a company in general. The second one was AstraZeneca. So AstraZeneca's actually already found theirs to be about 70% effective. And I actually read somewhere that they might not even be submitting to the U.S. And I'm guessing that's just because theirs is so much less effective. Also, you come into a real moral predicament there in terms of if another vaccine gets approved right now and it's anything really less than 90%, how are you as a doctor going to, like,
recommend
promote that vaccine? Yeah. And I mean, you're going to, because 80% effective or 70% effective, still way better than nothing at all, but
No, it
it's
makes
going to
sense.
stink if one patient comes in and you just ran out of Moderna's vaccine and now you have to give them AstraZeneca's vaccine. You know what I mean?
That is true.
So that's interesting. And then the other two that I've read about are Inovio. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but that's how I'm going to say it. And Novavax, which I feel like Novavax has been in the news a lot for their vaccine. So I don't know. Maybe invest in Inovio. Maybe it's cheaper. I have no idea what the stock values are for any of these.
So where are they? Because you said they're in stage 3, right?
Yeah, so Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca are towards the end, and well, I shouldn't say end, towards a close point of being able to do data analysis. The other two, I believe Novavax just started their phase 3 trial, and Inovio, I'm not entirely sure where they stand. Maybe in the middle.
That's kind of interesting. Why? I guess I'm curious why anyone would even go into stage 3 at this point with 2 vaccines already across the finish line.
Well, they know that those vaccines aren't going to be able to put out enough manufacturing, so
That's true. They're probably looking at the global stage and not just America.
yeah. And also they've already sunk this much money into it, because in order to even get into a phase 3 trial, first you had to do all the stuff in the lab. So you're thinking about the researchers it took, the lab technicians you paid for, the product materials you paid for. I mean, a lot of that they're not paying for because they got substantial money to subsidize that. And then you go into phase 1 trial where basically, or preclinical trials where basically you're giving it to like mice and other animals and just making sure it doesn't kill them and that it looks okay. And then you go into the next step and you're giving it to a few patients. So by the time you get to phase 3, you've sunk so much time, energy, and money
you're
into.
like a couple hundred
You're like, we
million
might
there.
as well just see.
I mean, I guess, you know what I would love to hear you talk about is the price tag on stuff like this. I mean,
yeah.
are we talking, are they $500,000 in? I mean, mice are kind of cheap. I mean, I'm assuming lab
I'll
mice
bring
are
it up.
cheap.
I'll tell you how this is a little different, because usually the average length it takes to get a drug to market is closer to 15 years. So this will be a unique situation. But yeah, we'll talk about time and money.
But yeah, I'm kind of curious if we're talking 100 million, a billion, 1 million. We'll talk about another episode, but it does raise the point because, you know, I'm sure afterwards after this finally passes and public interest dies down, kind of like what happened with Zika, you know, where you had all these companies looking into making a vaccine for Zika and stuff like that. And then public interest just dies off when the disease wanes.
Yeah.
They're kind of left footing the bill, and I'm kind of curious what that bill looks like. I mean, I don't need to know down to the penny.
Yeah.
But are we talking this is going to cripple
I'm
a company?
sure I could find like at each phase of the trial how much money has been put into it up to that point.
This
for
will be
most drugs.
interesting.
For next week, I'm hoping to do some researching and give you guys the full lineup in terms of when who can expect to receive the vaccine. So right now it's mostly been like frontline healthcare workers. I believe people with pre-existing conditions and people in like nursing homes are going to be next on the roster. But I just thought it'd be nice for you guys to know, like, A, what is a pre-existing condition going to consist of? And 2, if I'm just, like, a generally healthy person interested in getting the vaccine, when am I going to be able to expect to see it? Also, I'm just going to mention this because Frankie had asked about this last week, and that is, once I get vaccinated, am I going to need to wear a mask? And I said, I'm sure there's some number that once X% of people are vaccinated, we might not have to wear masks, but I didn't know what number. We actually listened to a video this week of Dr. Fauci talking about it, and essentially he settled on a nice big range of somewhere between 70 to 85%. So
Yeah,
let's just say 85%. Once 85% of the population is vaccinated, then we can engage in discussions about not wearing masks.
Yeah, which it sounds like he was hoping for what was it, late summer, early fall. He was guesstimating.
Basically, by the time we enter 2022, maybe something will have gotten back to normal.
Yeah, so next year is kind of botched, but
yeah.
You know, we almost missed something. We got our gym memberships.
I already had my gym membership.
Well, I got my gym
your
membership. So, yeah, we're back at the gym working out.
How's it feel?
So, it it feels good and yet terrible. I hate running with a mask on.
I'd like to give a shout out to Connor, who works the front desk. Connor, if you listen to this
I'm gonna tell him next time we go, and I'm gonna be like, Connor, you should listen to our podcast.
You seem like a really nice guy.
He really does. You know what
also seem like a wicked soccer player. Like, I bet you were the captain of your soccer team.
You know what gets me is he knows everyone. Like, we talked about this.
He even knew us when he came in. He's like, "Oh, good morning. You guys gonna go over there and do the skin?" I was like,
"Well,
wow.
He did just sign me up."
I guess, and I do have bangs.
Yeah, so I doubt there's too many people running around with bangs. But what gets me is he knows like, we're sitting there talking, and he's like, "Oh, hey, so and so,"
and it's like without him even looking at the computer screen to see who tagged it.
Exactly, because I was like, "Oh, maybe it's because of the computer screen." You know what it is? They must just be the regulars that like he sees all the time.
Yeah.
I'm betting that's what it is, honestly.
I suppose. I mean, I'm sure when you work there every single morning that like you get used to the same 30 people that come in during the morning.
Yeah, at the same time, like clockwork.
Still, you know what? There's a lot of employees, I'm sure, that work there in the morning that have not put in the effort to do that. So
no, that's true, because I went there for a year.
Yeah.
And never knew a name of a single employee there.
Yeah.
And I already know this
Connor's
guy.
name.
I already know Connor.
I called him Colin the first time. He's like, Connor. And I was like, okay, sorry.
But yeah, like, so he really does go the extra mile.
Yeah,
he waved to me. I was running in the movie theater and he went up. I think he was taking his break or something. And
he was nice because he had already saw I signed in for the spin class, which I don't even know how he knew that I was already. He's like, "Oh, you're going to spin today, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I sure am." And then he told you, he's like, "Just so you know, there's an empty seat if you want to join."
That is true.
It's nice of him.
So, speaking of spin, I have to sign up for that.
It's already overbooked.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Well, guys, have a fantastic New Year's. I think that's all we have, right?
Yeah, that's all we got. Listen to episode 30 to listen to our wonderful guest, Don.
That is true.
Don will be emailing you soon with some pre-questions, and then we'll probably surprise you with a couple random ones, too.
But we look forward to doing episode 30, guys, and we hope you had a fantastic Christmas and have a great New Year's. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you at episode 30.
Later.